Tina somehow communicated this through body language or sign language. She didn't communicate that to Gabe. That was an anxiety that was all his own.
Yeah.
Entirely his own. Also, by the way, there is mention also that people at the dive company actually talked about what to do and how to signal them if you went beyond the exit buoy.
In fairness, though, the people at the dive company were supposed to have done a test dive with Tina and didn't.
Well, in fairness, yeah, I mean,
so maybe they said they told them
And in fairness to the dive company, you can tell somebody what to do, but for them to pay attention and register and retain that is a whole nother matter.
Yep. Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Another thing that makes me think that maybe Gabe was in a state of panic is the whole part, this is the part that truly doesn't make sense, is where he's trying to chase Tina downward as she's sinking. Or the experts I talked to. And again, there was a whole question of, well, was his BCD way overinflated? And, well, if that was the case, if that was inhibiting his downward progress, then all he had to do was deflate it. He didn't apparently think to do it, which is evidence to me that he wasn't thinking very clearly.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. He was panicking.
Yeah.
I don't know, and at that point he turned around and just left. Again, evidence that he's scared because maybe he already figured out that Tina was already dead. And figured there's no sense losing my own life trying to rescue her.
Much kind of along the same lines as what Devin was saying, being a rescuer, yeah.
Although at the same time, I'm asking myself, well, is that really rational?
Because you have a whole tank of air.
You got a tank of air, and if you swim down a little farther, grab her, haul her up, really, what's the risk there?
But let's also add to that, right, the fact that he had already had that misfire with his computer. Or his dive computer, right? So he may have already been a little in a weird mindset of like, well, maybe this computer isn't 100% accurate right now, right? Because I was having issues with it before. So maybe he's thinking, all right, I know I definitely have enough to get on this, short little scuba trip, but maybe he's thinking, he's already not thinking particularly clearly. He's probably panicking and thinking, oh my God, also what if my computer is telling me that I have a lot more air than I actually have? What if, something malfunctions, blah, blah, blah. He's already panicking, and then he's trying to get down, and then he's like, oh, I've obviously used way more air than I should have, and oh my gosh, my computer, just a huge panic of all that stuff. I agree that rationally above ground with no emotional trauma of watching your wife die. I'm sorry, on ground, above water, to us sitting in a dry room without having just watched our wife die. Of course, he had air to get down there and blah, blah, blah. But if he's panicking, he's having a panic attack.
I think he's
not in his right mind.
Yeah.
It
makes sense to just beat out of there, and and that's because again, like you said, to us it looks simplicity itself. You just swim down there, grab her, haul her to the surface, alive or dead, at least you got her, and he just turned and left, and I think that's the sign. Again, and again, from where he went, he could have gone straight up. Instead, he goes back to the bow against the current, taking more time. Every decision was kind of the wrong one.
It was bad.
A lot of them were not rational. I think that he was. I think he was just panicking.
Yeah.
And I think he lost it. And I think that's why his story doesn't quite make sense, is because he's never wanted to fess up entirely to the fact that he just lost it.
Well, here's a question. If he had a panic attack, did he lose his scuba license?
Not that I know of, no.
So if he had admitted that he was incompetent and caused the death of someone and, basically just ruined everything, would he have lost it? Probably, right?
Maybe, but I'm not sure how enthusiastic he was about scuba anymore anyway.
Right.
But he might not have ever gone scuba diving after that.
And I got to tell you, the whole thing of him saying, I want to scuba dive and I want to go on boats and you need to learn to do it with me as well if you want to be with me. I mean, it's weird to me because he'd been diving for, at this point, 10 years?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And he had only in 7 years logged 50 dives, and they were all like pool dives and little quarry dives.
Most of them were not very shallow. Mostly shallow.
Not as if he was an avid diver, and this was going to always be his thing. Which is why I agree with Joe that it's so easy to see him freak out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no.
He was a novice.
I agree with that.
Novice.
I was just going to say, to me, it's not that weird that he didn't go on. I mean, we don't know their financial situation. He probably couldn't afford. He lived in Alabama, right? It's not like there are a lot of really great dive spots in Alabama, right? As far as I know.
I don't know.
I'm sure that we'll find out.
I'm sure we will.
Alabama is actually close to the Gulf of Mexico, so there's good diving down there, I hear.
Close, but
depending on where in the state you
and
are.
his financial situation, right? So it may have been that he thought, all right, well, we're gonna go someplace tropical for our honeymoon. I've always, I've been scubaing for 10 years. This is my chance to really get a great, nice dive in.
Oh, sure.
And obviously I want you to do that with me because you're my wife and I love you. So
yeah, I guess at 26, they were 26 years old, both of them. So yeah, financially, it's not as if they would be super well off. Okay,
no, not really.
I'll retract a little bit of my score.
I mean, you can be at 50 and not be financially well off enough. I mean, there's no stage of life where you can definitively say that person is definitely going to be able to afford to go scuba diving.
Well, I'm not exactly hurting for cash, but I got to tell you, it's just a matter of priorities. I mean, I could actually, if I actually had to, I could afford to travel halfway around the world and go scuba diving.
Right.
I'm not going to.
But you're also not 26.
Well, there's that too. But I just, no matter what the age, there's always something better to spend the money on.
Right, like buying a house and starting a family.
Yeah, exactly. But there could have been other repercussions too. I mean, he might have felt at least partially responsible if he felt like he had done something to contribute to her death.
Well, I think he did. I mean, that body viewing comments, that seems like
well, obviously, he did in one way or another, but from a legal point of view, it's one thing to sort of say, hey, wouldn't it be great to learn how to scuba dive? Because that sort of, contributed to her death, but that's not something you can throw somebody in jail for. But there are other things that you could conceivably say, well, that's manslaughter, dude. You screwed up. You screwed up, and you did this and this that contributed to her dying, and so you're going to go to jail. So
like
you can
freaking out underwater,
like freaking out and stuff, and you can see where he might finesse his story a little bit to make himself look a little better, not only from a standpoint of self-esteem, but also from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't want to get arrested or whatever. So. That's kind of my theory there, is that it was an accident, an unfortunate thing, but his behavior probably wasn't entirely the best. And I'm not saying I would have been any better in that situation myself, but that's what I think most likely happened.
I agree.
Yeah, most likely. All right, so that's that story. Next week, Finding Nemo.
Solve the mystery.
Yeah. All right, let me do a little housekeeping before we go here. You're a scuba diver. And by the way, I just want to say, this is something to me. It looks actually fairly easy.
Mm-hmm. Looks fun.
It does look like a lot of fun. But I want to say, if you're one of these scuba diving types and you want to take issue with that, if you'd like to issue a challenge to me to go to Australia and do the dive, well, I will accept that challenge.
On your dollar.
Absolutely. You throw down that gauntlet and your wallet, and I will go to Australia and dive that wreck.
I knew that was coming.
Absolutely. And let me give you the way you want to get a hold of me through our email, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. What else have we got? We got a website. You know what those things are, right? thinkingsidewayspodcast.com, where you can find our episodes. We have an episode list out there. You can download and listen to our stuff on the website. We also have merch. You can buy t-shirts and mugs and all kinds of fun stuff. You can also find us on iTunes, where you can subscribe, you can rate us, you can review us. A good review, please. We like those a lot better. There's streaming services. What do we got? Like Stitcher and God knows what else.
Google Play, all the apps.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, there's billions of them. And we're on social media, including Facebook. I don't know if you've heard of those guys or not. Apparently they're big. But we have a group and a page, so like the page, join the group. And there's lots of fun stuff going on, lots of back and forth and commentary and stuff. It's a friendly group. I think, there's no flame wars. I think everybody's really nice.
Yeah.
It's a very chill group.
It is. It's a great group. I like our listeners. They're great people. And we're on Twitter. Thinking Sideways, leave that G out, and there we are. And we have a subreddit, Thinking Sideways. That's on Reddit. If you haven't heard of those guys, well, do a Google. That's REDDIT. We have a subreddit, and so go check it out. And that's about it. Until next week, Any final thoughts, you guys?
No.
I was going to make a swimming joke, but no, I got nothing.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either. So, all right, ta-ta till next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Toynbee idea in movie 2001, Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter, but it's a gas planet, and it's like
Devin,
You okay?
What?
What's going on here?
No,
You're acting like
nothing.
Sherlock Holmes on a cocaine bender.
No.
You've
It's
got
okay.
Post-it notes and hastily written notes. What is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you're a little too into this.
What's
we
the
need to back
note
up
in your forehead for?
It's just the thing is that this is one of those mysteries that so many people have delved into, and I feel like there's like a curse attached to it. Like you just fall into it. It's like it's like Alice in the Looking Glass. It's just how many more metaphors can I come up with here? I really don't know.
Down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
There you go.
And you just fall in, and there's no, I know I was expressing to Steve earlier that I don't know if I'm really ready for this, just because there's so much information out there. It's been going on for so long.
You were a
And
little
I just
manic.
can't do anything about it, but I really want to talk about this one because it's like one of my favorite mysteries, and I
Cool.
feel like it's time. But I'm so sorry,
Deep
Okay.
breaths.
I can't.
We'll make it through.
Let's talk about
You're
it.
gonna help me with this?
Yeah, because
You guys are gonna help
I
me with
admit
it?
this
We're-
one's off.
We're going to solve it, though. Don't
Okay,
you worry.
I don't.
This one's a little off,
I
but
don't want to solve it. I really want to solve it.
Yeah.
It's the thing. Okay, the thing about this mystery is that it seems like there's just an obvious answer, right? It's one of those ones where you read through it and you're like, well, I'm like an idiot. Like I'm just not making the right connections. Like there should be a really simple answer to this, but there's just not.
okay.
No?
No, I can see
see where
that
I'm going?
perspective.
Well, there is a simple answer. Somebody's making these things and putting them out there.
You're right.
Yeah.
But who and why
Ooh,
and
I
what?
know. That's
Let's start at the beginning
Yeah.
for our dear
Yeah.
friends who are
Okay.
listening today.
All right.
And don't know what's going on.
All right,
That's
I
right.
guess. Okay. So
And
this
what's your
is-
name, by the way?
This is Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I'm so sorry, everyone. My name is Devin, and I'm joined as always by
Steve.
And Joe.
and we're gonna go at a mystery. By now, you probably know we're gonna do the Toynbee tiles.
Hmm.
So these tiles, they're sometimes called plaques, started showing up maybe in the early 1980s. Definitely people can pretty solidly recall in like 83 these things cropping up, but for sure there were recorded sightings in the early 90s.
Okay. So they've been around a while.
They've been around a while.
Or happening a while, I should say.
Happening, I think, been around. Because often, a lot of times, they have been around for a while, but sometimes they haven't, and that's kind of...
Well, it could. One of them could be around for a long time before you even notice it. The one that's over near my house at 7th and Hawthorne,
Yeah,
which I went and looked at today. It actually is there.
it's still there.
Yeah, it's there. But I've been driving over that thing and past that thing for years now, and never
Yeah,
even noticed
never
it.
noticed it.
Yeah.
Because they, that's kind of part of it. They crop up in the middle of asphalt streets or sidewalks, but more they crop up in the street, kind of places where you don't necessarily see them. And
Right
as it's-
away.
Yeah, and as it's because as it's gotten more recent, it's kind of we see them more in visible pedestrian spaces. We'll talk about this in a little bit. There's a distinction.
Okay. All right.
Most of them are just this phrase, Toynbee idea, in movie 2001, Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter. The most common variations you'll see are, instead of in movie, it'll say in Kubrick's 2001.
Because he directed it. The movie 2001: A Space
Yeah,
Odyssey.
and I think he wrote it too, or
He
co-authored
co-wrote it with
yeah.
Yeah,
Arthur
okay. Yeah, I
Clarke.
was going to say, I didn't
Yeah.
think he wrote it on his own. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that's a little mysterious to me is this 2001 Resurrect Dead on Jupiter. I mean, in the movie, they go to Jupiter, but they're not going there to resurrect the dead.
Well, we'll talk about this.
Oh, really?
There's so much to talk about with this
Okay.
thing. So officially, we kind of consider anything that cropped up, not anything, but most of them that cropped up until about 2002 to be old style or original tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And then since 2002, a lot of copycats have come to be copycats.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is due in part to the fact that forums got a hold of somehow realized how these were being done, and they posted on the internet. So people who were Toyn Bee tile enthusiasts now knew how they were made, how to make them themselves, and we're kind of going out and copying and propagating the...
Well, it becomes a movement.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Street art, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
I'm actually thinking about creating one myself.
I did in college.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Where at?
In Illinois.
Is it still there?
I have no idea.
Get on Google Street View.
No, it's not. It was never on Google Street View. I guess we'll start by talking about how they're made, because that's the simplest thing to attack.
Probably.
In this whole situation, it's the simplest thing to attack. And I understand that this is, again, propagating the mystery a little bit. We're about to say to all of our millions of viewers or listeners.
At least 1% of whom are going to want to run right out.
Totally.
And do this.
So now you'll know how to do it. Not
because
that
it's
you
so
couldn't,
easy to do.
Yeah, and it's not that you couldn't just Google it.
Yeah. Oh no.
Before. So they're actually made of linoleum. Linoleum tiles, just like you can buy at Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
The theory is, and again, since that's pretty easy to tell, you just carve out your message in the linoleum. And the older style ones were really colorful and kind of looked like mosaics.
Mm-hmm. They were.
And we'll post pictures of these so you can kind of see, but they're really beautiful.
Yeah, they're kind of. But so the older ones, I mean, it's like they had colored the letters in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did they just lay the cutout linoleum on top of another piece of material to get the color, or did they actually cut out different colored pieces of linoleum
so
and stick them in there?
Essentially what you do is you put down a piece of tar paper, which is what they use when you're re-roofing, when you put shingles on. And you can just get it at Home Depot or whatever. So you get a layer of tar paper, which they also use to patch cement and asphalt cracks.
True.
Yeah.
You lay that down, and then you would cut out your basic outline, so your main color of the tile. And then you cut out the little bits.
You carve out the letters.
Carve out the little letters and stick them in the holes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put a bunch of Elmer's glue on there. And
Top
also
or bottom or both?
all over it. You just it's like making a sandwich.
Yeah, with lots of mayonnaise.
A little bit. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you just smother your mayonnaise or jam or whatever it is in there. And then you use asphalt crack filler as well a little bit. And then you stick another layer of tar paper on there. And you've got yourself a little sandwich packet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think to answer Joe's question is, and it took me a while to figure this out. You're talking about the original ones were much more colorful.
Yeah.
Because what somebody was doing was carving the letters out and making a negative space in the linoleum.
And then adding a positive.
And then cutting out another piece of linoleum that was the letter and laying that in there to make the positive.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard, actually. You could use it as a stencil and just
But
basically outline the
it's
pieces.
extremely time-consuming.
Oh,
If you
sure.
think about that, I carved the letter R, and then I've got to carve the letter R smaller and in relatively the same shape proportionally to fit in there. So if the leg or the curve is too big, I got to go back and shave it down to get them all in there.
And the really interesting thing, the other thing that you kind of notice is as you start to look at the pictures of these tiles, you can kind of instinctively know if it's an original or a copycat because there's really distinct handwriting that goes with the original.
Very obvious style.
It's really, really obvious, and it's really consistent. It's not like an amateur carver.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into this, there are these original trial runs that were found, and you look at them and you're like, oh, that's the guy. That was made by the same person.
Well, and there's the screeds, which are just tons and tons of little writing that it's just so much, and it's a very consistent style.
Yeah.
So the style is the key.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
It's like a fingerprint.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, and the guy who does the screeds sounds like a little bit unbalanced.
Well, we call those the manifesto. I'm in it, you guys. I'm in it.
Yeah.
They're referred to most often as the manifesto tiles, and we'll talk about that, but a little bit later. So they've floated this theory that the tiler, we'll refer to this person as the tiler. You often see that kind of in the net sphere, the infosphere.
Well, we don't have a verified name.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
not...
an easy way to refer to the
right.
person.
And it's pretty widely accepted that it was just one person.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just go ahead and throw that out there in the beginning.
Just
so
one.
there was this theory that the Tyler had a car that was missing a floorboard. So you would drop your little sandwich packet and it would go bloop, and then drive away. And the
Is that the noise it made?
When I did it.
Oh, okay.
It went bloop. No.
Did you cut a hole in the bottom of your car?
I did not.
This?
No, I didn't have
That's
a car.
good. That's
so
good.
There's that whole
Okay,
situation.
so it hits the ground.